Welcome to Canada's Entrepreneur, where we talk to the entrepreneurs who are making it happen across Canada and deliver the news, trends, knowledge, and opinions from entrepreneurs and business influencers across the country. Hi, everyone. I'm Phil Bliss, founder and CEO of Canada's Entrepreneur, coming to you today from Toronto, actually from Hamilton. Today, we're going to meet Adam Hislop, who creates videos and movies that help people communicate clearly and effectively. Along with the rest of his team at Atomic Spark in Brantford, Southern Ontario, he produces commercials, brand films, promotional videos, website videos, and training materials. And he's been doing it successfully for the past 25 years. So he's got some great stories to tell us. So welcome to Canada's Entrepreneur, Adam.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for
And
having me.
as I do at the start of every session, and I think it's really important to get it out fast, before we get deeper, let everyone find out a bit about you and
Sure.
a quick synopsis of your entrepreneurial journey. Give us a 4-minute kind of summary
Sure.
of who Adam is, basically.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I started in the production world, thinking I wanted to go into television, but but kind of found my way into doing corporate video production, and that's where I am. Been at this for 25 years and started a business that we'll talk a bit more about 15 years ago. But had the experience of doing some freelance work, worked for some other people, and kind of found something that I really enjoy doing. There's a lot of variety. It's a lot of fun. My background is I studied television broadcasting when I was in college, and was thinking I really wanted to be in like television production, and then had the opportunity to do some work with some businesses creating video content. This is 2000, so it was well before YouTube and things like that. So it was a very different landscape, but it was something I kind of realized I really enjoy, and enjoy the relationships working with people, and here we are today. It's come a long way, and there's been a lot of changes,
And
and
it's really
yeah.
cool because looking at your background, and you've been running your own production business for what, 20 years or so,
15 years now, yeah, 16
15 years,
almost. So
15
yeah,
years,
yeah.
and I think it's interesting for people to realize that you're from Brantford,
Hmm.
Southern Ontario. So I don't want to be mean to Brantford, but it's not that small a small town. But
Small.
I think it's interesting to kind of get that view, that entrepreneurship
Yeah,
view of how do you make a really good living in sort of
yeah,
that, out of the city, if you like.
yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. That's something I've talked to people about a lot over the years, and the short answer is I don't think I've ever once had a client question where we're from, and we do a lot of work, most of our work outside of Brantford. So I've never felt a strong need to move the business elsewhere. But there's definitely been times over the years I've said, "Gee, are we in the right location? Should I be in a bigger market?" Um, there are things like networking that would be easier if we were a little bit closer to the GTA. But some of the advantages are, Brantford is, although it's growing, it's still got a bit of a small town feel. Housing prices are a little better. It's a nice place to raise a family. We have good connections in town here, and we do some work in town. And the reality is, there's a lot of people that live out here that work at companies and organizations in the GTA. So we have a good client we're working with tomorrow, actually, on a project, and they're the organization's out of Hamilton, but she lives near us here, and so I don't think in the type of business, in the creative service business that we're in, I don't think that it matters where we are, because we typically go to our clients when we're meeting or filming with them.
Has that sort of changed, improved since the COVID thing? But really, it's
Yeah,
the sort of the growth of remote
yeah,
work, remote workforces, if you like.
Yeah.
has that have you noticed a change in attitude in terms of customer?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. The biggest difference I think has been just the ability to do meetings remotely. We did some of that because we had some clients that were pretty early adopters for I don't know if you remember GoToMeeting and the joy of having audio trouble on every call. But we did that fairly early on, and my team has been remote pretty much right since the beginning. You know, we do have some office space. We do meet up and work together a bit, but for the most part, everything is remote. And so, you know, in some ways, the pandemic wasn't a big adjustment for us. We didn't have a major change like, oh no, now we have to figure out how to work remotely. We already had some technology and infrastructure in place there. But I find on the client side, it definitely became more accepting. To say have a Zoom call instead of an in-person meeting,
Mhm.
and honestly, it saved a lot of time because there were times I'd drive to Toronto or whatever, and from out here it's an hour, but it's really 2 or 2.5 with traffic, right? So you'd spend a
Yeah.
half a day going to a meeting, and honestly, that's a lot of time for something like that. So I think we can serve people better that way. The other thing that I noticed, and it's just kind of a side thing, but because everyone was working from home and their kids were at home, all of a sudden you realize, these people that you've known for a while, you'd see, kids run by in the background. It became a little bit more, kind of personal. You built, I think closer relationships with people because,
Mhm.
the reality of life, it wasn't just, oh, here's my business life and here's my personal life. All of a sudden, you'd realize that, hey, they're at home too, and they've got life going on, and I think that's been good overall. I think a lot of our clients, we work with people in the marketing communication space, and a lot are it's a pretty friendly and personal environment anyways, I find. So yeah, it's there's definitely been some changes, but it wasn't a drastic shock for us initially to start up doing
Where do you
remote
see?
work.
I mean, another thing is everybody thinks building a business and you've got to grow to be like
Yeah.
a giant, which we know isn't true. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
That's a great question. That's a hard question to answer. I mean, we have plans. We have kind of a 5-year plan of where we
Hmm.
think we want to be, where I want the company to go. Um, I found through, over the last 5 years, it's been um, very up and down because of the pandemic. We were super busy, and then everything stopped, and then you're busy, and then it stopped, and kind of went like that. And then kind of post pandemic, it's been pretty consistently very busy. But maybe some normal rhythms that we had. We used to know, like, okay, this season, we'd be like really busy through the spring and fall, whatever. But that's really changed a lot. Um, Overall, I think, I don't have the dream to take this business to be enormous or anything like that. It's kind of a pretty niche thing, and it's something that requires, um, close collaboration with clients. I don't like the idea of, um, you know, turning projects into just numbers and assign it to somebody and they get it done. We like working closely with people. And I think our hope is maybe to get to maybe 10 people or something like that. Um,
Hmm.
for reference, we're about 5 right now, and then some contractors. So I think that was probably about sort of the sweet spot. Also, just looking at sort of what, from my own standpoint, what's manageable without having more layers of management and that.
I sort of started to bring this in because it's
Mhm.
impacting everybody. I mean, with AI, and I know in your business, because I overlap into that side of things.
Yeah,
uh, Things are emerging
yeah,
pretty quickly. Uh,
very.
what's your feel for that? Uh,
Yeah. So we use AI tools. They they don't replace anybody. Um, they're wonderful tools. I'll give you an example. One of the things we use it for regularly is, if we're working with, say, a manufacturer to create a video about their organization. we'll use AI and say like, hey, we're creating this video. We're going to be writing a script. Can you give us some interview questions? And they're, I would say, 60-70% good. They're not all amazing, but it gives us a great starting point. That's where it's been really helpful. It's really reduced the amount of time we spend doing sort of the mundane research, the repetitive writing, that sort of thing. The other thing we'll often do too is, again, around the writing side of things, is we'll often put text into chat gpt and say, hey, how can I make this better, and look for suggestions and ideas.
Mhm.
So it hasn't replaced us on the sort of production side of things, where
Yeah,
we've really
what you're saying is it means you can go through more ideas faster.
absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. And I think achieve better results for people, be a little bit more thorough. The other side of it that's really neat is, there's new tools out. We use some audio tools that clean up audio, so we can record in noisier environments and still have good usable audio. There's a tool we're using just the other day. We had someone that was having some difficulty keeping their eye line with the camera lens, looking into the lens, and there's a tool that'll correct that now. So I mean, there's things like that you look at and you think, wow, that's pretty amazing that it actually does it as well as it does. It makes our jobs a little bit easier and allows us to do better work, and at the end of the day, it makes the client happier. So I think, given what we do, I don't see it totally replacing us anytime soon. That being said, we're internally, we spend a lot of time, looking at AI tools and watching it. And I know, people in like the agency world and that are very serious about it, because it's a real tool, and there certainly are threats to jobs. If I was a copywriter or something like that, I'd be a little bit worried, right? Because it's going to fundamentally change the industry quite a bit. There's no question about that. It's happening.
Let's move on to some challenging things here.
Yeah, sure.
What's the greatest challenge you've faced over the last 15 years in your business?
Oh boy. I think that probably the most significant thing, because um because I came into the business, and I started the business because I love doing the work, is learning and running and managing the business side of things. Learning how to deal with finances, learning how to manage people, what to do when those things don't go well, managing cash flow. I mean, I think that's probably something that's common across many, many,
Mhm.
many businesses. But cash flow is even as what I would consider now a little bit established. We've been at this for a while. It's still a problem, because we still go, you go through the busy times and then things slow down. And sometimes it's only for a few weeks, but that can still impact your cash flow, right? So that's probably ongoing challenge number one. But I think overall the biggest thing has just been having to learn the business side of things. I've worked with a business coach for almost since the beginning, and that's been really helpful. And I encourage people, like,
Mm.
take the time to find someone that you click with, that supports you, and really invest in that. And there's also lots of great training. There's tons of good resources. I mean, podcasts. I've learned so much from podcasts. They weren't there at the beginning when I was starting out, but there's so many great ways to learn from things, learn from other people's journeys, right? And that's why I love talking like this, about my own journey, because maybe
Yeah,
it'll help someone or inspire someone.
that's right. That was the idea behind the show.
Hopefully, anyways,
Yeah,
right?
you know, so you've been doing it long enough that you've hit a few challenges. When you're faced with those unexpected challenges, have you got a method now that you a way of handling them, if you like?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that, but yeah, I think so. I think as you learn more, as an entrepreneur, or as a person, as you learn more about yourself and how you manage things, you find ways, or better ways of dealing with challenges or navigating those challenges. Um, Certainly having systems in place has really helped me a lot, given sort of my personality in that. I know everybody's different, so I wouldn't say this is the only way it can work. But I know for me, like for example, with cash flow, having a good cash flow management system is really important,
Mm.
so that I can look at it and know this is where we are and this is where we're probably going to be. And even if it's not fixing the problem, even if the problem's still there, just to be able to look at it and know with some precision, not just be thinking, oh, it's a problem and I don't know, I haven't defined the problem. Having people to rely on, whether that's a coach, consultant, a really good accountant. That's the other thing I strongly say to people. If you don't have one and you're starting out in business or whatever, get yourself a good accountant, good bookkeeper, that can help you with that side of things. Um, and those are people you can call on. You can say like, hey, what do I do here? What do I do if I have to end a relationship with someone that I'm working with, and how do I navigate that, because that's something that came up a number of years ago, and those are difficult things to do, but having really good advice is important.
Mhm.
And I know for me, just being able to sort of process it that way, to look at here's the facts and not just sit there worrying about things.
Right.
And then also just kind of the flip side of that is having good support, at home. I'm fortunate. I've got a wonderful wife and kids who care, and they're compassionate. And when you're having those tough days, you can say, "Hey, I've had an awful day," and you get that support. And I'm very blessed to have that. Not everyone has that, I know, but that
So,
makes a difference.
so what, I mean, same kind of thing. What do you know now that you wish you'd known at the beginning of this journey you're on?
I think the biggest thing is realizing that there's no I don't, maybe I'm not saying this right, but there's no like finish line. I guess I thought it would be like, okay, we'll get started and we'll get to a certain point and then we'll have arrived. And it's really it's a journey.
Hmm.
Day to day is up and down. There's a lot of great stuff. I got into this because I love doing the work. I love creating video content. I love filming. I love working with people on projects like this. Um, but there's up and down, and there will be that's ongoing. I think that's probably the biggest thing is I wish I could just say like, be patient. It's a journey. There will be up and down, and um, to really try to enjoy, the good
Just,
stuff, as you can. Um, Particularly just the nature of the business too. It's not like I'm building it to sell or something like that. It's a small business. It's a niche thing that we do, and to really like embrace and love what you're doing, and make that your focus is, I think, the biggest thing I would probably tell myself, and just really focus on the fundamentals, like learn those fundamentals, get as much training as you can on the financial and the management side, because that only helps as you go.
on the mentorship side of things,
Hmm.
what's the best piece of advice that you've received
Mm.
that it's there in your back pocket,
Yeah.
you go back to it every so often?
Oh, that's a hard question. I think probably the single biggest thing, and this is comes back to working with a business coach, but having someone that has visibility into other businesses, other small businesses, um, to be able to talk with them and have them say, "You're doing okay," um, and it's normal, to have ups and downs and messiness. It's not like I think maybe that's another thing I've really learned over the years. It from the outside, it looks like other businesses you'd see, oh, they're successful, they're doing great, they just landed this big contract, they're busy, and you think, oh, that's their stuff's perfect. What why is there so much chaos, with what we've got going on? But then you realize after talking with someone and getting to know people, and just also having friends in business, you realize that's with everybody. There is that level of, to one degree or another, of problems and chaos and struggles and all that. And I think I think learning that and accepting that, and having someone that can look at it and give you some feedback from an outside perspective is really valuable. Did that answer your question? I'm sorry. I feel like I
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think
rambled
they
there.
did. I mean, what it said is, you've got a coach who's act really your mentor, and I
Yeah.
think we all have coaches or whatever, people
Hmm.
that we get advice from,
Yeah. Yeah.
that we act on, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's some pretty serious stuff for the last 20 minutes or so. Let's have some fun, more
Sure.
rapid questions. Colin. If you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing instead?
Oh, I have no idea. Um, I um, I don't know.
I think you're a bit like me. You like what you do, which is why you're doing
I like what I do. Like I remember a distinct moment. I think it was grade nine. I went into our community television station. We had a day, where it was just to go and check it out. And I know I was liked video, and been kind of interested in that. And I remember they kind of gave us a tour and said, okay, now we're gonna do like a pretend, like a mock TV show, and let you try out different things and all this. And I remember sitting down, and I got to be the director. Probably pushed my way into that, but I remember sitting down there, and I remember this distinct moment of like, this is exactly what I want to do with my life. And that was when I was thinking maybe more I wanted to be in television, and this is sort of a related but different field. Um, I honestly don't know what I would do if I had something else to do. Um, I think the perspective back then might have been different. I had some interest in, maybe in technology, computer
it.
related something, maybe programming or something like that. Might have been a more stable career path than entrepreneurship in hindsight. But yeah, I don't have something now that I'm like, hey, this is my plan B. So I
So,
kind of hope this works.
what book are you currently reading, or podcast that you're listening to, that you'd recommend to the audience?
Sure. There's a couple podcasts that I highly recommend. These are a little bit kind of tailored to the creative services industry. So,
Mhm.
but there would be maybe some application. The Future with Chris Doe is a fantastic podcast. If you're not listening to that and you're in any kind of creative field, you should be. There's another one called Two Bobs, the number two BOBS, and it's an absolutely fantastic podcast. And it is two people. It's an Office Space reference if you don't get the name, but and they talk about creative entrepreneurship, and it's everything from how to run a business, but also deliver good creative work and make a living at it on the way through. Those are probably the two that over the years have been the most. But honestly, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I read books and listen to audiobooks as well, and try to get a variety of stuff in there, everything from sort of business related things to just other things that I find generally interesting. Um, you know how people work, psychology, those sorts of things are fun to read, and I think very applicable when you're in business. Um, but yeah,
You're a morning or a night person?
I'm sorry.
Are you a morning or a night person?
Uh, Definitely a morning person. I tend to fall asleep pretty pretty early, so I don't do I used to do work at night a little bit more, but not these days. No, not not once you hit your mid 40s. The night thing isn't a good option anymore. So for me, but yeah, typically, I try to keep work hours. I mean, it's not really 9 to 5, but 8 to
Yeah, I
to
know.
6.
Yeah,
Sometimes in the evening, our hours are pretty erratic, but that's one of the things I intentionally tried to do with the business is not make it one of those like work nonstop. I like to have a bit of a life outside of it, so as much as we
good
can.
thinking. So, if you had to pick one word to describe who Adam is, what would it be, and why would you choose it?
Oh, I don't know. I might need to think about that. I don't know. I mean, I really I love what I do. I'm really passionate about what I do. Um, I guess that might be it. I haven't really given that a lot of thought. Sorry, I don't have a great answer there, but um, yeah, I care a lot about um, what we do, delivering a great service for clients. That matters a lot to me. I want people
What
to be happy with
you
us.
know, describe yourself.
Myself, um,
What makes you?
makes me tick.
Is it creativity? Is it this? Is it that?
Yeah, the creative is a part of it. I think I have um, some abilities in the creative space, but then also um, being able to blend that with the business side, the entrepreneurial side a little bit. Um, so I think there's a little bit of balance there. I know some people that I would consider like highly creative, really super talented people. Um, Sometimes they struggle more in the business side of things.
Yeah.
And then I know some people that run a great business, but I think their work isn't very good because the creative side's not there. And you know, we try to have a bit of a balance there. I don't know if I have one particular word. But you know, I definitely care a lot about what I do for work, and then the rest of the time is, you know, with family and friends.
So, what's keeping you up at night?
um, I think, as with many entrepreneurs, that you know, you work on sort of project-based work. You know, where's the next project going to be? Are we going to land that client? How do we you know, get in front of somebody else, meet a new client?
Hmm.
That's definitely it. I think I have a lot of ideas, and I think that's a good thing. I think every entrepreneur probably is similar, in that you know, you have a lot of ideas of things you want to achieve. The reality is time and not having time to do all the things, right? I wish there was more time. Um, but I think probably just the whole, you know, how do we like early on, I think maybe it was a little bit more focused on um, sort of the creative side of it. Now it's a little bit more sort of how do we keep the business stable? I mean, there's, you know, there's a handful of us that depend on it for a living, right? So how do we keep it running, keep projects going and moving along? And
Yeah.
that's definitely something that maybe not every night keeps me up, but has at times kept me up at night. And you know, I think a lot about, because that's the reality, right? If
Yeah.
it's you can
Understand.
love it all you,
I
but
understand that very well.
yeah, you know, if the cash isn't coming in, there's, you know, you're in trouble. So that's
Okay,
reality.
Adam, that's about it. I think that's a
Yep.
really good session. Actually, I really enjoyed it, and thanks for coming on the show. It's been really nice meeting you.
Oh, been a pleasure. I appreciate you having me on, and thanks for chatting for a bit. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, it was really good to hear Adam's story and his insights on, building a creative business outside of the city and being successful doing it. Really nice discussion. I'm Phil Bliss. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter on our website and subscribe on our YouTube channel as well, and on any of the major podcast channels. Thanks for listening to Canada's Entrepreneur, where you meet the entrepreneurs that drive Canada's economy. See you soon. We talk to the entrepreneurs who are making it happen across Canada and deliver the news, trends, knowledge, and opinions from entrepreneurs and business influencers across the country.